Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, the show that goes beyond the trillion-dollar business of sports, marketing, deal-making, politics, philanthropy, tech. You got it. Bigger every year. And it's time of year, by the way. It is May. It's hard to believe that there's no more ice on the cherry blossoms, but I think we're legitimately past the time of coat weather, probably into summer weather, Mother's Day and beyond. The Derby over. We'll get into that in a minute. Our guest focuses on golf, and not just golf, but an amazing resort in Florida. How you mine for phosphate and potash and end up with three of the best courses for to play golf in the United States. Well, Ben Pratt will tell us that. But first, if you want to take a look at all of our stories, the top three of the week and then the 15 to watch, NBC Washington, take a look at all of our 15 and our tech. So subscribe to us, Google Play, Audio Boom, Apple, iTunes feed, look for us on Stitcher, and all of the usual places. But let's get into a couple of those things we talked about, the summer stuff, and who can usher in the spring or summer better than a rainy Kentucky Derby? Justify can. Well, he won the 144th Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs, but thoroughly soaked horses, jockeys, hats. The racetrack, nonetheless, 158,000 people, the eighth largest crowd in the history of the race. Daily Racing Form said wagering on the event broke records the second year in a row, and the rainiest Derby on record. Handle, about $150 million, up 7.5% over last year. Win play show pool exceeding $62 million. And for the entire 14-race card, the handle $223 million, about an 8% over wagering last year. Justify, the sixth straight favorite to win the Derby. He earned $1.4 million for his jockey Mike Smith, his owner Bob Baffert, and Baffert his fifth win, second best all time. Co-owned, by the way, Windstar Farm, head of Plains Partners, Starlight Racing, and the China Horse Club. The large ownership group, by the way, may be a trend. The rise of partnerships across the country, even among the sport's powerful owners. No matter what happens to the Preakness, by the way, the Triple Crown second leg vastly overshadowed by royal goings-on in London come May 11th and beyond. The horses still race, but we have another good story across the pond. Yet, the Derby treated to a newly renovated Churchill Downs. $69 million worth of improvements this offseason, 32 new suites, new front door at the iconic track. Kansas City-based architecture firm Populous, tasked with creating the $37 million three-story suite tower at the starting gate. The new structure built directly above existing grandstands, with each level having themed dining experiences around horse racing's crown jewel. Apart from the structure itself, Churchill Downs debuted two new signature drinks this past weekend. The Spire, featuring Woodford Reserve Bourbon, of course, lemonade, cranberry juice, crushed ice, and lemon twist, and the Oaks Lily, featuring premium Finlandia classic vodka, a luminous peach color, sweet and sour mix, triple sec, and cranberry juice. Why are we talking about this? Well, because they sold more than 127,000 mint juleps on race day. Everybody is cold. Let's get a drink. Bottom line of the Kentucky Derby, the enclosed suite structure couldn't have come at a better time for the wettest Derby day on record. Take that, those that wanted a premature summer. You'll get there, just hang on, not right away. Well, we can fantasize about golf or we can play golf. Those of us in Florida, we can play golf. But how about an interesting company? It's called the Mosaic Company, the world's largest combined producer of potash and phosphate, two vital plant nutrients. Publicly traded company, a Fortune 500 company, 27 million tons of operational capacity. They've got big-time phosphate, big-time potash. Yeah, they've finished a lot of their mining in Florida, own a lot of acreage. The company says, what do we do for higher or better use? Their larger center of operation are in Central Florida, Brazil, Saskatchewan, headquarters in Minnesota. The guys who drive the company are golf fanatics. The end of the day, one of the biggest, new, and brightest resorts in not only Florida, but in the entire world, called Streamsong. And Ben Pratt, the Vice President of Corporate Public Affairs for the company, explains. Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, keeping score in the boardroom, whatever you want to call it. It's $1 trillion business of sports. And we always talk about sports and development. And those of you who are golfers, you appreciate sports, development, phosphate mining, amazing golf courses, a real estate story you can't believe, and a course that you really, and a course and resort you can't believe. All of that wrapped into the Mosaic Company. Ben Pratt, the VP of Corporate Public Affairs for Mosaic, with an interesting story. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Rick?
I'm wonderful, thank you. I hear you're in cold Minnesota, and by the way, in Florida, I don't know if you know, but it's now 85 or 90 degrees. So Stream Song Black opens to the public. You got a couple of other courses: Stream Song Red, Stream Song Blue. Talk about the courses a little bit, then we'll talk about the company.
Yeah, absolutely. The courses are, well, to start, it's the only place in the world where courses designed by three of the hottest architects in the game today are present, and those are Core Crenshaw, the red course, Tom Doak's blue course, and the new Gil Hance designed black course, which opened to great fanfare just last fall. It's a unique development. The site is in the middle of Central Florida. It's formerly mined phosphate land, and the geography, the landscape, if you will, is very unusual because it is land that was mined and then left in its sort of churned up state long before we had the responsibility to put land back the way we find it when we mine it now. And so what that presented was a really interesting landscape, a sort of blank canvas for the game's best architects to build truly unusual, truly unique golf courses. And I think the reception all those courses have received from golfers and media alike has demonstrated that they're some of the best out there.
And it's a bigger story, too. Mosaic, the world's largest combined producer of phosphates and potash and plant nutrients. But as you said, you got to dig it up from somewhere. You've been a publicly traded company since 2004 and a Fortune 500 company. And so you take the tonnage, you've got a guy or guys who are golf enthusiasts, and now you have one of the best sets of resorts or the best sets of courses in the world. Hell of a story, huh?
It's a truly unique story, Rick. It harkens back to a senior executive at Mosaic named Rich Mack, who had the vision and the drive to get this thing done. And it truly is a remarkable story to take what. It's hard to imagine that land if you haven't been in a sort of unoccupied part of Central Florida. It was pretty much untouched for decades after it was mined, and so to envision a world-class golf resort there, it was a pretty remarkable vision. And you know, we decided to do it as a company, even though it's got nothing to do with our business, right? We are not in the golf business. We're in the agriculture business. We make fertilizer for farmers around the world, but we decided to do it for several good reasons. One, it's in the middle of a pretty sparsely populated area that's a little short on jobs, and so we realized that we could develop an economic base for the community, and that's worked well. We've got several hundred people working at the resort, not counting 200 professional caddies who work there every day.
And by the way, they all read the greens really well.
I'm sure. I'll be sure they get that message.
Yeah, please give them that.
And then, we also developed a significant tax base, a bed tax base from the lodging part of the business for that community that's been economically important. And on top of all that, it's been a very useful project to demonstrate just what we can do with all this land we've mined in the past, the productive use we can put it to.
So obviously you are a jobs-centric company with your 15,000 people working to serve agricultural customers in 40 countries around the world. And as you said before, jobs means something to you, and you can translate it economically, and hence the county and the state benefit significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have 3,500 employees in Florida today, still doing phosphate mining and manufacturing in that same general region of Central Florida, and so this is an important element of our ability to demonstrate that we're a good neighbor and that we can make good use of all this land once we've walked away from it.
Is the investment of Stream Song as a golf investment? You already said it's not your core business. We know that. but has it been economically successful for you guys from an ROI perspective? Is it for awareness? Is it for giving back? What are the goals, and are you meeting them?
Yeah, all those things. The resort now, with the completion of the Black Golf Course, we feel like the resort is fully developed, at least for now. We've got 3 great golf courses, a lodge, and 228 rooms, and a bunch of other amenities that people can use. And so it's just now gotten to the point of what we would consider full development, so that it can demonstrate its economic potential, its performance potential, and it's doing very well. Our occupancy rates are high. The golf courses are very close to maxed out, and so the investment is working quite well as we've gotten to full development. But beyond that, it's about jobs. It's about demonstrating to the local communities that all this land that we have access to and that we mine, we can do that responsibly, and that we can put it back to good use. This particular tract looks like it does, and I know you've been there, Rick, to play some golf. It looks like it does because we didn't have a regulation in the 70s when we finished mining this land, to put it back the way we found it. And so it was essentially not usable land until this vision came about. And now to take it from a place that was inhabited primarily by critters you don't want to see, it is now a gleaming example of a world-class resort that is a great source of pride in the communities down there.
Guarantee you, if you looked at the place before and after, the before didn't lend itself to a visionary perspective of what a resort looks like, but you guys pulled the dirt and got it done. What other golf destinations did you consider as models in the early phases of Streamsong's development?
Well, I wasn't involved in the earliest phases of it, so I'm not familiar with the models we used, but we certainly wanted it to be able to compete with the very best of the destinations in the U.S. And so you look at a place like Bandon Dunes and some of the other places where the architects like Ben Crenshaw and Bill Corr have come together to build some of the finest new golf courses in the world. And we knew that it really came down to the golf course architecture as a starting point, and then the building architecture by Albert Alfonso. The architects, we knew we wanted those kinds of people, the very best in the business, and we knew that those specific architects, the guys who built these 3 great golf courses, knew how to deal with a site like that and how to see a golf course amidst this incredible sort of landscape of tropical flora and fauna and animals.
Flora, fauna, and animals, and if it's up to you guys, you're going to protect it. You have a strong corporate responsibility and commitment in global environment sustainability, as you would hope you would, as an international company that's concerned with mining valuable metals and et cetera in the ground. The track record of environment a factor when you're interviewing the roster of designers who work with you to develop the property?
Yeah, to a certain extent it sure was, and you're right that we're very much committed to good stewardship of natural resources in all our businesses around the world, and I have to acknowledge there that our businesses obviously have impact on the environment. We're miners, and so it's about minimizing and taking care of all the resources as best we can. If you look at the properties, what we ended up with and what we knew we would get with these designers are not typical of many other resort-style golf courses. They, we emphasize walking. We built golf courses with just really one cut of grass anywhere. There's no rough, so it minimizes the maintenance. The fairways end, and then you've got natural areas, so we're minimizing impact there. And there wasn't as much need to move around the natural environment as you would have expected for a site like this. So there's no irrigation outside areas of actual golf play. We don't have.
Oh, I'm sorry, but it's also your sustainability as far as maintenance is concerned and keeping the legacy. At certain times of the year, carts, we know, are not allowed. Is this part of the resort's focus on sustainability as well?
It is, and one of the founding principles of the resort was walking golf. We're big proponents of walking golf, and so the courses were designed with that in mind. One of the primary limiters for any golf course to walking, and especially at resorts, is distance between greens and tees. So all the designers were asked to and did keep those distances to a minimum, and the golf courses are a great walk. And one of the important things about sustainability to a resort like that is having outstanding grass quality year round for golfers to play. The busiest season for us there, of course, is winter, when the grass in that part of Florida, the Bermuda grass we have planted, really isn't growing. And so driving a lot of golf carts around on that grass when it's not actively growing, it can be pretty damaging. And so we've decided to limit golf course activity for those winter months when there's not much growth, and then emphasize walking golf year round with the help of the professional caddies we have on site.
You got the black course open last fall. What's next?
Well, we believe the resort is a state where it can be self-sustaining with the assets it's got. We fully recognize that what's really important in this business is delivering a great experience every time a group of golfers or other visitors, business meeting attendees, or whoever comes. We want them to have a great experience, and we want them to come back. And one of the critical things in this business about getting repeat visitors is continuing to get better. And so we'll always be looking for ways to get better, but for now, I think we're going to let the black course settle in and come to maturity, and we've got a couple of great, really fun amenities that go with it, including a 2-acre putting green called the Gauntlet. There's a lot to do, and we think there are ways that we'll continue to improve the place, but no other major projects on the horizon at the moment.
So Mosaic does much of its work outside the U.S., South America, a particular focus. Is there any thought of developing a stream song type property internationally?
This is such a unique opportunity. Again, we're not in the golf business. We're not in the resort business. We're not even close to it as a core part of what we do. So I don't think that's likely. And also, this was very site specific. As I've described the landscape as a great canvas for the game's best architects. So never say never to other developments, but this feels like more of a one-time thing for us.
Well, it's a one-time thing, but it's a big one-time thing. Ben Pratt, VP, Corporate Public Affairs, Stream Song, Mosaic, the entire project. You got to go see it. Rick Horrow, speak with you soon. Ben Pratt gives us an interesting perspective. By the way, if you want to deal with golf and development, there is no better story. Well, let's look at some of the familiar storylines now. How about the Capitals and what they've been doing, and focused on who they play? Well, frankly, as they get through going further than they might have before, don't want to curse them, the Vegas Knights, Golden Knights, wait on the other side. And bottom line, by the way, is everybody thought years ago Vegas would never, ever, ever get any kind of franchise. Now they've got a very successful NHL one, waiting for a NFL stadium to open up. But the Supreme Court's decision on sports betting still pending. But all pro sports leagues have already started pressing states to include an integrity fee on every wager placed. The small fee or tax placed on every bet could range up to about 2.5% of sports betting profits, and Governor Phil Murphy expected to back a proposed sports betting bill, raise up to $50 million a year in Jersey, still being determined if the fee would either be 2.5% or $7.5 million, ultimately be whichever was lower. Just last month, lawyers from NBA and MLB met with representatives of several of New York's commercially licensed casinos at a legislator's office in Albany, pitching him on the integrity fee if sports betting is legalized in the state. Leagues have also been pushing for their own fees since they're allowing sports books to use their official data, rightly putting a price on its valuable information. The bottom line is the Supreme Court could make its decision tomorrow, next week, next month. But ironically, as the Vegas Knights go deeper into the NHL playoffs, it's not a question of gambling, but how best to insulate the industry and capture revenue. Speaking of revenue, how about the NFL? The Panthers are looking to finalize their auction process and change hands from the Richardson family, but the spring meeting May 22 and 23 in Atlanta is a target. They may not have the group by then. At their March annual meeting, the owners and league officials said they expected to vote on the sale by May. But the front-runner to buy the team, South Carolina businessman Ben Navarro, founder and CEO of Sherman Financial Group, has been subject to frequent rumors that his business practices may be suspect, but nobody knows for sure. Navarro would pass the NFL's inspection, some say, and closer to the NFL. The other two bidders, Canadian steel magnate Alan Kestenbaum, executive chairman Globe Specialty Metals, and hedge fund manager and Steelers investor David Tepper, whose net worth is estimated by Forbes at $11 billion. Navarro expected to have bid $2.6 billion. Tepper came in with a number around $2.1 billion. NFL is looking at investigating Panthers owner Jerry Richardson for alleged inappropriate workplace conduct, and there's a strong sense the league wants the sale to happen quickly, especially if the number seems to be as high as what we're talking about. Across the pond and to the south, Jacksonville owner Shad Khan not only wants to own Wembley Stadium in London, he wants to put a retractable roof on the iconic venue. The London Telegraph says that following his $817 million bid, Khan noted his hope of refurbishing Wembley with a fully retractable roof, a move that would surely cost him tens of millions of dollars on the top of his bid. The Pakistani-American businessman intends on keeping the England national team home at Wembley, noting the stadium would not be worth nearly as much without their presence. He says England has to play there, otherwise it'll be a shell. It would be like an empty suit that doesn't have a soul. While there remains skepticism as to whether or not Jaguars or other NFL franchises would relocate across the pond, Khan did state he hopes to eventually host a Super Bowl or Pro Bowl at Wembley. More NFL news. Just weeks after stepping into the limelight following his draft decision to take quarterback Baker Mayfield #1, Cleveland Browns general manager John Dorsey said he wants nothing to do with HBO's Hard Knocks. HBO has strict guidelines on how to pick a team for its tell-all reality show, and the Browns are one of 6 franchises that could be forced to make an appearance this year. Other teams could be forced into the show, including the Niners, who have already campaigned against it, the Broncos, the Chargers, the Ravens, and the Redskins. And despite only winning 1 game in the past 2 seasons, the drafting of Mayfield makes the Browns one of the more intriguing teams floated by the network. Still, Dorsey, not a Hard Knocks fan. He says, quote, "I don't believe we're on Hard Knocks," said the first-year GM. "I don't know if there's anything good that comes out of Hard Knocks, but we'll see. It seems the Browns have taken enough hard knocks on the field to be given a pass by the NFL this year and focus on developing their new quarterback." Well, speaking of quarterbacks and philanthropy, Carson Wentz, he donates $500,000 for a sports complex in Haiti. So inspired by the mission trip he took to Haiti last off-season that his charity decided to go back and build a state-of-the-art sports complex there. His charity has partnered with Mission to Hope, Haiti to there, connecting donations for the project over the next 2 weeks. Wentz himself will match that fundraising up to $500,000. The finished sports complex boasting 10 soccer fields, 2 indoor basketball courts, 6 outdoor courts, a track and field arena, dormitories, soccer areas, locker rooms, and a community park with Wi-Fi access. The mission also centered on Wentz's strong Christian faith. Statement from the foundation reads, "One of the beauties of the sports complex is that every North American and Haitian worker will be trained to include aspects of the gospel when interacting with kids. Though these interactions with mentors and other role models, we believe children will begin to change the way they view the world around them." Kudos to Carson Wentz. Good luck to him. Good luck to his charity. How about tennis? Widespread corruption has been uncovered within tennis's lowest levels. According to multiple sources, an independent task force report says that tennis is responsible for more suspicious betting than any other sport, mostly due to widespread corruption at the sport's lowest levels, comprising futures events and satellite tours. Close to 15% of the 3,200 players polled in the investigation reported first-hand knowledge of match fixing. The review panel offered a dozen proposed solutions to curb match fixing, including banning betting companies from sponsorship, discontinuing the state of official live scoring data, and eliminating all gambling on the game's lower levels. The study did not indicate a widespread problem at the sport's top levels and found no evidence of cover-ups or collusion by International Tennis Federation officials. But one of the companies fingered is Sport Radar, which struck a $70 million deal with the ITF in 2012 to investigate live scoring from low-level tournaments around the world. Sport Radar investors include Mark Cuban, Ted Leonsis, and Michael Jordan. The real culprit in this scenario is the insufficient prize money offered at future type events that make them susceptible to manipulation, of course. And speaking of tennis, 2017, a banner year for the Tennis Channel. No network has added more subscribers. Tennis Channel gained 10 million, or maybe 12 in 2008. They got off to a OTT plus Tennis Channel Plus, and in March, subscriber revenue had grown 42% year over year. Viewership numbers were also impressive. Tennis Channel's several sponsors, Bristol Myers Squibb, Clorox, Ford Motor, Pfizer, Weight Watchers, as well. 42 local television stations recently come under fire for conservative prepared statements requiring anchors to read on the air. The Sinclair Broadcast Group, but it hadn't affected the Tennis Channel. That's just the owner. And as the world journeys the clay road to Paris and the French Open, kudos to Tennis Channel CEO Ken Solomon and his talented staff for amassing gains other networks should envy, even in today's cord-cutting world. Let's then talk about basketball. Wizards not in, but clearly waiting for some dynamic conference finals. And the reckless spending, however, by NBA teams during the summers of 16 and 17 have turned nearly half the league into sellers as we focus on the summer and free agency. Let's remember these numbers because we're all going to be looking at who's available and also who can be afforded. Depending on how many teams re-sign their own free agent players, 5 teams slated to pay the luxury tax this season, but that number expected to jump to 12 next season. 7 teams expected to have 10 plus million to spend this summer, down from 25 in 2016. The average salary cap grew from 63 million in 14-15 to 99 million this year. But get this, in $2 million rise next year, but so much money already committed to pay player contracts, about $3 billion, or 99.6% of next season's total, the free agent summer class can expect a particularly soft market. Money is going to be one of the tightest it's ever been. Wise for players in free agent classes to sign 1 or 2 year deals, which is exactly what everybody's thinking about. Finally, let's look at one issue in baseball. We're about a tenth of the way through the season, maybe a third, but MLB already preparing to open next season in Tokyo, for the 5th time in league history. According to the Seattle Times, the Oakland A's and Mariners play each other in a 2-game series at the Tokyo Dome. The 2 teams squared off in an identical 2-game series to open up the season in 2012. Tokyo had been a popular destination for MLB to play games thanks to strong Japanese ties across MLB. Those ties especially strong for the Mariners. Japanese video game company Nintendo once owned a majority stake in the franchise, largely credited with saving baseball in the Northwest when its then president Hiroshi Yamaguchi bought the team in '92. The company sold the club 2 years ago, netting $661 million on the deal, but it still retains a 10% stake in the club's ownership group. Other opening day international games: Monterey in '99, San Juan in '01, Sydney in 14, and Tokyo 4 other times. And it's also a safe bet that Angel star Shohei Ohtani will play a full season opener in Japan, but likely with a different team after he's able to receive full market value when his current limited contract expires, or maybe he re-signs with the same team. Bottom line is, he is clearly the big draw now. Finally, how about a funny one in baseball? The Astros team up for a pet cause. Pitcher Lance McCullers has teamed up with 2017 AL Most Valuable Player Jose Altuve and 2015 Cy Young Award winner Dallas Keuchel for the second annual Team Up for Kids and Canines fundraising event held on May 17 in Houston. The event helps raise money for causes that the three players support, highlighted by Lance McCullers' foundation and his efforts to promote pet adoptions and fight animal cruelty. Last year, the inaugural event raised more than $100,000 in support of the McCullers dog rescue efforts, as well as local children's charities, including the Sunshine Kids. 2017 event saw most of the Astros and many coaches and other celebrities in attendance in support of the cause. Last year, Jose and I teamed up with Kids and Canines to raise a lot of money and brought some great awareness for a lot of great causes, said McCullers. Dallas was really supportive of our event. Both guys love Houston, love to give back, so I thought this year would make it all three of us. The deal raised hundreds of thousands to rescue hundreds of dogs left homeless by Hurricane Harvey. Way to go, Astros! Your winners on the field and off the field as well. We'd like to thank Ben Pratt for giving us a glimpse of what it's like to play summer golf as the weather changes. We'd like to thank Tanner Simpkins and Dan Martin for putting the podcast together. We'd like you, thank you for watching and listening. And the bottom line is big-time events as the summer gets going even warmer. Joining us next week when we go Beyond the Scoreboard.